Hello, everyone, and welcome to SEDS-Canada Projects Q&A session. My name is Alina. I am the SEDS-Canada Projects Chair, and today we're going to go over three of our projects, the Canadian Reduced Gravity Experiment Design Challenge, the Canadian Stratospheric Balloon Experiment Design Challenge, and the YSpacE Entrepreneurs Competition. So first of all, I would like to start by introducing SEDS-Canada. SEDS-Canada stands for Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And our mission is to strengthen Canada's future in space by providing post-secondary students with unique projects, such as the ones we're going to discuss today, research programs, and other professional development opportunities in the Canadian government, industry, and institutional space sectors. We are Canada's only non-profit organization that's working across the country to inspire and empower students joining the space industry. And we are a member-based organization. You can, as a student or as a working professional, you can join SEDS-Canada as a member. And we're especially looking for more members from our maritime provinces, as well as from Northern Canada. But wherever you are in Canada, if you're not a member yet, consider joining SEDS-Canada. And really, our mission is to create a platform for students to advance Canada's space sector and for students to learn valuable skills that they can use in their future space careers. So to give an outline of today's project session, first of all, we're going to cover our Canadian Reduced Gravity Experiment. Then we're going to break for questions. Any questions that you have, you can throw in our YouTube chat. Then we're going to go over the Canadian Stratospheric Balloon Experiment. Again, take a break for questions. And lastly, we'll go over our YSpacE competition. And again, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. And once again, if you have questions at any point, please do feel free to add them in the YouTube chat. So first of all, I would like to pass it on to Louis, who's our Canadian Reduced Gravity Experiment Design Challenge Project Manager. And so he'll tell you more about CAN-RGX.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Alina. So I'm pretty excited to talk about our project today. This is going to be the sixth time that we're running it. And we're excited to hear from you guys and to share also with what it's about today. See here. There we go. So just overarching, what is CAN-RGX? As Lena mentioned, it stands for the Reduced Gravity Experiment Design Challenge. And it's primarily a competition for Canadian post-secondary students, where their goal is to design and test a small scientific payload aboard the Falcon 20, which is the National Research Council's modified aircraft that's able to do reduced gravity maneuvers. And the whole organization, or the whole competition, I should say, is also supported by the Canadian Space Agency. So with those two government organizations, we aim to bring students this very unique opportunity. So what does it really mean? What does it entail? Ultimately, the reduced gravity segments are produced through a parabolic flight maneuver with this specialized aircraft. So throughout, the end goal is that we'll have segments of about 20 seconds of zero gravity where there's a complete sense of weightlessness in the aircraft and for the experiments at play. So the maneuver is really achieved through a couple stages here. So highlighting that starting at the normal level flight like you might be used to or that you've experienced before in an aircraft, the pilots will be able to engage in a quick downward pitch before pulling into a hypergravity segment where there's actually a greater weight experienced, but that then provides us the opportunity to the acceleration needed to pitch up into this approximately 20 seconds of zero gravity where we get extremely close to no acceleration in all three axes for your experiment and the occupants of the cabin. And at the at the end of this microgravity segment, the airplane is obviously going to catch everyone and everything on board. And so there's another quick period of hypergravity to catch the plane. And so for the experiments, we expect anywhere from 6 to 12 of such parabolas. And so we're hoping to hear experiments and proposals about science that you can perform uniquely in this microgravity segment, whether you need just one parabola or several back-to-back. But think of it very much like discrete time periods of microgravity that overall can build a picture for a unique phenomenon. And so here's kind of a cabin view of what you might experience in this CRG. On top is looking over the nose of the plane out the front. And at the bottom, the video is looking back into the cabin. And so you can see at this point, they're entering the pitch up portion of the maneuver. So there's a bit of extra gravity feeling being felt by the crew and students here. The experiments are actually contained in these black boxes that you see on the lower video. And actually at this moment, we're entering the zero gravity portion. You can see the floating at the bottom, the erasers at the top, actually on the left side, help guide the pilots to ensure all three axes are actually aligned and to experience the full effect of the zero gravity. And so now we approach the end of it as the airplane, again, recovers from the top of this parabola. Here we go. So with that very unique experience, we hope to sort of frame it with the competition structure and really provide a very unique opportunity for you. One of the greatest things that it shows is it's an excellent first introduction to participate in a full engineering design cycle, from concept and idea through iteration and modifications up until we can get a final product that fits inside those black boxes that can perform in this very unique environment. Throughout the experience of the competition, you'll be able to explore this in a multidisciplinary setting. So you'll have, hopefully members will be required from a science background to understand the goals of the experiment, an engineering background to make it functional, electrical, computing, software are often always involved. And so having a full picture experience here will really bring a unique project management challenge to the team as well. And on the science side, you get to learn about what science is involved in microgravity and personally what the experience is like to be in microgravity, which is honestly pretty exciting. Some other additional bonuses and things that this competition provides is that you're able to be sort of introduced to the more academic world of science and publication. You can also extend these connections through industry professionals, whether that's through some of the interactions you have with our partners at the NRC or CSA, or through some of the outreach that you'd be able to do, whether you can find some threads with other individuals in the sector. And overall, throughout the competition is quite, actually we'll touch on it very soon, but there are significant milestones with technical documentation, communication, and presentation skills that we help you develop and that you'd be able to experience and learn from in this competition. And so overall, speaking of the timeline, what does it look like for a team that would participate? Well, at the end of October is the deadline for submitting your proposals. So we encourage you to start putting a team together, get some ideas in, and look for that as the deadline. We'll let you know at the end of November which teams have been selected. We'll be selecting 4 teams from across Canada, from across the institutions that have applied. And we'll let you know at the end of November. And also listed here in blue are the 2 major milestones for the competition. Early February, we'll be having the preliminary design review. This is a major checkpoint where we see where your design is at, what you've been able to put together so far. And through this design review with our partners at the NRC and the CSA, we'll be able to give you feedback on what needs to change, what is working, what's what the status is really. And then ultimately by June, we'll have the critical design review, where this is really the finalized version of the Pelican case box that enters the aircraft, and really the final version of your experiment, where everything is either ready to go or just about set for a flight campaign that will take place in August. The date is still a little ways out before we confirm that, but it will be in August, flying out of the NRC facilities in Ottawa. And so with regards to the proposal and the application process, the best resource, the one we will always point you to, is the website for this competition. That's SEDS.ca/CAN-RGX. Here you'll have all the information I've talked about today, as well as key links to things, especially our student handbook. So this document, which you can download from the website, has a full run through of what's expected throughout the competition. It'll give you the information you need for each of the different milestones that I mentioned, but primarily important to you at this point will be the proposal stage and especially the eligibility requirements. As you start to develop an idea for an experiment that you want to put together, keep in mind some of the things that do frame what we're able to perform in this aircraft. On the website as well, we have a link to a notice of interest form. This is a Google Forms that we hope you'll be able to fill out before submitting your proposals. This just gives us on the SEDS team a bit of a heads up to see who's got an idea coming and what we can expect by the end of October. And so we encourage you to please fill that out. It's not mandatory to submit a proposal, but it is recommended. On the website, as well as more specific instructions for submitting the proposals, as well as some tidbits of information to help you guide you as well. So that includes a list of experiments from past teams, the kind of science that they have been able to perform, as well as a section on the relevant areas of research that we're hoping to have within the scope of what CAN-RGX is, and some frequently asked questions that hopefully we'll be able to address today, and as well anything we don't get to today. You can, as always, send us an email, which is also linked on the website, or have it in the comments to this video as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Louis, for this introduction to CAN-RGX.
Of course.
So we'll take a few moments here to see if we have any questions. Once again, for anyone listening, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. But I'll get us started with some questions. Can we do all of the team members have to be from the same university, or can you have team members that are from different institutions?
So overall, it can be mixed. It's a good question about the team composition. We will gladly have teams that are composed from different universities or different institutions. However, it does need to be kind of affiliated and supervised by one primary institution with additional affiliates if you require it. Keep in mind also that the teams also are supervised at this institution, at whatever primary institution, by a faculty advisor. And so they should be overseeing the project as well.
Great. Can students perform experiments that involve either human subjects or animals or living cells for RGX?
Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of limitations on what we can do. The only organism-based experiments we really accept are cells that can fall into the biohazard risk group 1. And so we've had experience in the past with yeast cells. Those have been quite successful. That's an example of one type of cell that falls into that category. As well as on the human factors sides, we currently don't accept any experiments that would require some kind of ethics board approval to run. So that's a lot of the human factors based ones. We currently are not accepting those types of experiments. So please keep an eye for those eligibility requirements that are outlined in the student handbook document.
Great. And maybe we'll take one last question for right now. Will students receive some kind of training before they go up on the parabolic flight?
Absolutely. Not only training, but throughout the year leading up to it, There's constant back and forth with especially the crew at the NRC, those operating the aircraft. And so not only in the lead up before, but actually the week of the campaign, there's a lot of support and training that's given, not only given, but very much a dialogue from the crew to the students, understanding how they're working together and what adjustments have to be made or understood to have a successful flight for everyone.
Wonderful. Thanks, Louis. And if anyone still has any questions about CAN-RGX, please still do feel free to put them in the chat. We might have some time at the end to address any other questions. But for right now, we'll move on to our next project, which is the Canadian Stratospheric Balloon Experiment, or CAN-SBX. And here I'll pass it on to Ashley, who is our assistant project manager, to talk about CAN-SBX.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Ashley, and I've been on as an assistant project manager for almost a year now, but we had a really great launch of 2 payloads just this last August, where students are currently analyzing the data from, so it's a very exciting time to be involved in these projects. I'll be giving you guys a quick rundown of what CAN-SBX is. You'll see a lot of mirroring of RGX in a lot of the things I'm talking about. It's also a student design competition for post-secondary Canadian students, but it's actually intended to fly a small scientific experiment on board these Canadian Space Agency new expandable balloon platforms. And you're going to learn how to be able to operate and recover a payload mission all the way up to the Earth's stratosphere. So it's pretty cool. Just going on to things that you will learn as part of this design competition. First of all, you'll have the opportunity to operate a real payload mission, design, assemble, and launch your own experiment with the guidance of some great CSA experts, gain valuable experience in communication and project management, and build relevant connections with industry professionals. You also will be able to perform really meaningful science and even have the opportunity to potentially publish your work at the end of the campaign. So the timeline here is actually, again, quite similar to CAN-RGX. We've opened applications just recently, so you can see a lot of information up on our website. I'll bring that up a little later. But proposals are going to be due at the end of October, on October 30th. And it takes us about 2 weeks to read over all those proposals and select the teams that are going to be part of the coming year's campaign. Then you have many months to work on developing your project idea and building it, with 2 key check-ins in March and May for the preliminary design review and critical design review, respectively. And then we have the actual launch of the balloons set to happen in August, but we haven't narrowed down an exact time yet. So everything you need to know to apply is at seds.ca/can-SBX. And some key things to highlight that are up on there is the CAN-SBX student handbook. This is like a many-page document that details everything you need to know about putting together a proposal, and also everything you'll need to know in the later stages. So if you kind of want to have an idea about what kind of things you'll be having to work on, it's a really good detailed document. There's also the interest form, which, as was previously mentioned, is a great way for SEDS to keep track of the applications, but might also be a good time for you if you're thinking of an idea right now and want to kind of put it out there and potentially get some feedback. You can fill that out. You can also email us with any specific questions. We have instructions for submitting your proposals, and you'll see, again, that August 30th deadline up on the website. We've listed out a few relevant areas of research because this balloon experiment payloads can actually be used for a wide variety of science. So if you don't quite have an idea in mind, it'd be really cool to just go on the website, check out to see if anything kind of sparks your interest. And then last thing is we have a frequently asked questions section where we've just kind of answered some questions we often get in emails from people. So that's like a first place to look for some questions you might already have in mind.
Great. Thank you, Ashley, for the introduction to CAN-SBX. And once again, we'll just take a quick moment for some questions about CAN-SBX. So yeah, I was wondering if like student teams need some kind of support or if they have technical questions either throughout the competition or even at the proposal stage, what kind of support do teams get on that?
That's a great question. So first of all, the most scary thing is like if you are selected, you actually have to go build this payload. Are you going to be all on your own? No, you have us at SEDS, but probably much more importantly, you have the people at the CSA who work at operating these balloons all the time and are just absolute experts at a lot of these aspects. So they'll be able to give you specific technical feedback in order to make your payload as good as possible. And that's what these reports are for. Like you submit to them exactly kind of what you're thinking, what you want to do, and they're going to give you feedback on this is feasible, this isn't feasible, you should do this instead. Now, before you are a selected team, you should absolutely reach out to SEDS if you have any specific questions about the proposal. And hopefully you can find some resources if you have any sort of really technical questions that we might not be able to answer for you. Do reach out if you're really stuck on something. But the idea with the proposal is to see how much of it you can kind of put together on your own. And so it's okay if not like every last of like circuit is put together. So hopefully that gives you kind of a good idea of the resources out there.
Great, that's great advice for sure. And maybe one last question for now. You did mention that we're using CSA's new expandable balloons. What is the maximum mass payload that students can fly on that?
So Alina, potentially hop in and correct me on this, but it used to be 3 kilograms. And this year, I think we've expanded that to be 5 kilograms, which gives us a bit more leeway to do bigger experiments than before.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Wonderful. Thanks for the answers. And once again, if anyone's listening, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll have more Q&A opportunities as we move through our presentation. Next, we'll go to our last competition that we'll discuss today, which is our Young Space Entrepreneurs Competition, also known as YSpacE. And for the next few slides, I'll introduce Agastya, who is our project manager for YSpacE, and he'll tell you more about it. So take it away.
Hello, thank you. So the YSpacE competition, it stands for the Young Space Entrepreneurs Competition, and it is Canada's only business plan competition for students where we focus on the space sector. So through YSpacE, we aim to empower students with the experience and confidence to target problems in the space sector and develop solutions and turn them into profitable ideas. So YSpacE takes you through the creation of a business plan, which includes many steps. It will mainly be broken down into 4 timelines. And some of the different things that we will discuss and work on throughout the competition timeline are listed here on the slides. A chunk of the business plan will be submitted for review after each deadline, and our mentors for YSpacE will go over the business plan ideas and provide you iterative feedback throughout every step. So I'd just like to highlight the timeline for the competition. We launched the applications in September, and the deadline is September 30 for applications. And once we receive your applications, we will start forming teams and start introducing webinar speakers and mentors to you, and also start going through your ideas for various business plans and iterate over it. There would be 4 major deadlines that would start in late November. So the first deadline would be November 20th, and the last deadline is January 10th. So the competition effectively, the grind part of it is effectively from November to January. And at the end of the 4 deadlines, after review from our mentors, we would select the top 5 teams to present their ideas in a pitch during the Canadian Space Conference in January, on January 28th. So I would just like to highlight a past team that participated in YSpacE. It was Kevin Stedniak and Kirk Howell who participated in 2019, and they worked on a business plan to create a company for space debris removal. And they are graduate students from Carleton, and they worked through YSpacE on this company and on this business plan idea. And following their participation in YSpacE, they founded Obruta Space Solutions with the goal to develop novel space debris removal technologies. So very exciting output and YSpacE from YSpacE. And we have had a number of other teams as well throughout years that have created some amazing business plan ideas. So everything you need to know about YSpacE, it's on the seds.ca/YSpacE webpage. You will find our student handbook there, as well as the application form. The handbook goes over all the details related to the business, to the competition, how to sign up, what the deadlines and the timeline of the competition looks like, and what your commitment would be to the competition, as well as it goes in more details about the structure of the competition and how it will be run. And we'll also be updating our website with webinars and partners and prizes, mentors, or any other news and updates that arise during the length of the competition. So keep checking that out for the latest updates on the competition. It also has an FAQ section. So if you have some questions, it would be a good idea to check that out as well for later. I would just like to talk about one more thing. Since last year, we started taking in applications from individuals as well as teams. So if you're a student who doesn't have a team yet and you are not sure about participating because the deadline is so soon, don't worry about that. Last year, we had a number of individual participants, and then we went through an idea process where students met each other and formed teams. So if you're an individual and you would still like to participate, don't hesitate and fill out that application form. And if you have any questions, if there are any questions, I can answer those.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I think you just actually answered a couple of questions. Can you apply as a team or as an individual? And the answer is both.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe one more question about YSpacE is, if you're applying as an individual or as a team, do you have to have an idea already, or is that something you can develop as you go through YSpacE?
So you can absolutely come in with an idea, fill that out in the application form, what you're thinking. But if you don't have an idea yet, you can still apply if YSpacE is something that interests you, if this kind of competition interests you. And during the first month of October, we will be going through ideation phases where we will be talking to mentors and speakers. And that would be a great time for you to discuss and develop an idea while participating in the competition and learning a lot. So yeah, don't hesitate to apply even if you don't have an idea yet, because we will have a bunch of opportunities down the line to get those ideas and work on something great.
Yeah, definitely. And I do also want to highlight that it's a very quick application. So if you're interested, definitely apply. It's going to be a quick thing to do. Maybe one more question, actually. I was wondering if you have any advice for interested participants on how to come up with an idea and what resources and how to approach that.
Well, market research is always great. So you can look into existing space solutions and see how the industry is like. But if that feels overwhelming, don't worry about it, because we at YSpacE will also go through some webinars where we will be talking about what the industry looks like right now, what are some challenges that will help you explore different avenues that you can work for. Also, don't hesitate to relate whatever you are learning in school or anything other extra to apply that to space as well. So in the past, we have had students who were mechanical engineers. They were interested in a spacesuit helmet, or there were biologists who were interested in food and microbes, and and a business plan revolving around that. So any idea is a good idea, and we will go through those iteration phases to discuss with experts and refine those ideas further to create a business plan.
Great, that's great advice. Thank you. I think we'll move on and take a few more general questions about all of the projects. So we also have questions on whether students can participate if they're part-time students and if they're international students. And maybe I can take these questions. Yes, you can apply if you're a part-time student, and yes, you can apply as an international student. You just have to be enrolled in a Canadian post-secondary institution. And maybe another question for Ashley and Louis, since putting together RGX and CAN-SBX proposals is a very involved process. I was wondering if you have any advice for interested teams on how to put together a good proposal and what resources they could use.
I can go first. Okay, great. Well, I think that reading some of the basic things like the handbook hopefully are just really helpful, but it also makes your application sometimes stand out, because like just following the basics of like what's required in there and paying attention to those details do really matter to us. And so I think that that would be my little piece of advice.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like we are looking for quite specific things, and so the handbook is the gem for that. We also have on the RGX page, I believe, I'm not sure if the SBX, I believe you also have one, but there's a how-to guide that also gives additional tips that aren't necessarily requirements for eligibility or things like that, but it's tips and advice for not only the proposal stage, but throughout other stages of our competition. Little pieces of advice or experiences that we've had, to resources to share. That's also a very helpful document to take a look at. And with regards to the proposal, having it well researched is also quite important. The strength of the science that you're proposing is a big proponent, not only the effectiveness of the communication, but the content behind it as well.
Great. And maybe one last question that I think I can take. Will student teams get access to lab space or equipment that is needed to build their experiments? The answer to that is, in general, no, we don't provide lab space or equipment for students. It is up to student teams to find and secure resources that they need. Having said that, if you have any specialized needs and you're struggling to find the lab space, we're certainly happy to work with you and try to use the network that we have to try and help you secure access to lab space or resources that you may need. So I think those are all the questions we have for today. So just a couple of last slides to finish things off. So if you're ready to apply, you should form a team with an idea for an experiment or a business idea if you're applying for YSpacE. For SBX and RGX, you'll need to find a faculty advisor at your school to help support your project. And then, as we mentioned, you can submit an interest form ahead of time, and that gives us an opportunity to potentially give you any feedback or raise any red flags that we might see. And then you can submit your proposal, or in the case of YSpacE, it's again a very quick application that you can submit, and then you're on your way. And at any stage, you're welcome to contact us, and you can reach out to either myself at projects@seds.ca, and I can pass along your questions, or you can always go to our websites for each of the projects, and you'll find the contact information for each of the projects. And once again, the deadlines this year, CAN-RGX and CAN-SBX proposals are both due October 30th. So just over a month away. And YSpacE is due September 30th, which is actually the end of this week. But as we mentioned, it is a very quick application. So we hope you'll be able to fill it out in time. And once again, do not hesitate to contact us with any questions. And thank you for joining us today. And thanks to all of our project staff that was here today to answer the questions.